shit. It's Wednesday, November the 23rd, 2022. Baby boys, baby girls, welcome back. Glad you made it. It's another So-So production. Doing it halfway through the week. Happy hump day to everybody, wherever you are, whether you're in the GTA here in Toronto, Vancouver, Halifax, Quebec, wherever you are, whether you're in America, Mexico, South America, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Australia, Asia, Africa, Antarctica, Europe, the Middle East, everywhere. Shout out to you, gang. Thank you for joining me today. Buckle up, buckle down, boys and girls. We're going to have some fun. Talk about everything and nothing as per usual. Keep it loose as a goose. And you're wondering out there, if you've been with me for some time, you know what it's all about. We have some fun. Talk about the silliness, the seriousness, mix it all up. But if you're just joining me today, you're like, I wonder if this is the right show for me. I wonder if this is the right podcast for me. First of all, let me just reassure you, this is all about the jokes and the comedy, and this is for the men and the women who like to laugh. This is for the ladies out there if you're out there, if you're out there walking around with them labias, this show's for you. I'm talking long labias, loose labias, talking tight labias that are seemingly not even there, but they're there. They're just tucked in neatly. They're not dangling. And there's a whole multiplicity of all sorts of types of labias, and they're all beautiful. So if you got labias out there, this show's for you. If you got a pair of, if you got them big jugs, if you got tits, small too, if it doesn't matter, A cup, B cup, C cup, D cup, and anything beyond that as well, this show is for you. If you've got the type of tits, lady out there, that causes traffic to stop, if you've halted traffic using your tits, if you've caused an accident or maybe almost caused an accident just by putting him out there, this show's for you. And the fellas, I'm not going to forget the fellas. You're like, well, we got the ladies covered. I know this is a lady-friendly show. What about the dudes? I got the dudes too. Dudes, if you got, if you're out there carrying a piece with you, if you're carrying a piece, if you got a pistol in them pants, if you have to, by law, it's required for you to register so that you can actually carry a concealed weapon, this is for you. If you got that hammer in the pants pockets, this is for you. If you got nuts, if you got uneven nuts, specifically, I'm talking to you, sir. Yeah, if you got uneven nuts, maybe the left one hangs a little bit lower than the right one, this show's for you. And that's like, look at the stats. It's like 95% of the population, if I'm not mistaken. But then again, who knows? But I also, I'm not the one that only, caters to the quote-unquote like status quo or anything out there. If you're out there swinging an even pair of nuts, if you're out there walking around with your left and right nut just balanced out, somebody used a laser measuring device just to get it even, and it's even, and you're hanging out, you're walking amongst us, you freak of nature, you weirdo. Well, we love you. This show's also for you, because that's what it is. We take care of everybody here. I'm not going to discriminate just because you got weird looking even hanging nuts. And anywhere else you've been to, everywhere else for that, as a matter of fact, that's right, everywhere else you've been to, they pointed at you and they laughed and they mocked you and they said things like, ha, look, it's Johnny Even Nuts, and followed by laughter and ridicule everywhere, including here. We did it too. And if you're like, man, if we could trace it back, you started the whole Johnny Even Nuts thing, didn't you? And yes, we did, absolutely. But that's aside the point, because we accept you and we love you here, unlike other places that may also love you and accept you, but we're amongst them too. Let's just put it this way. Feel comfortable if you got weird, even hanging nuts. The right and the left are perfectly even? How's that possible, man? You're doing it. You're making the rest of us look to you and be like, man, that's the anomaly right there. I don't even know what I'm saying, dudes, ladies, but what I'm trying to say is that it's a family gathering every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, essentially, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Patreon, where we shoot the shit, have some fun with the boys and the gals. Doing it. Essentially, it's for all body types. Yeah, if you got, hey, I'm talking to you with the hair in the face, you're like, oh my God, that is so descriptive. How does he know? Is he talking to me? Yes, you with the hair in the face. Talking to you out there. Yeah, you specifically with the hair in the face. You're like, that's my middle name. Hey, you there with the hair in the face, what they used to call you in your family. When you were growing up, beautiful nickname carried you into middle school, high school, university. Hey, you with the hair in the face. Oh, talking to you out there. Shows for you. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, what is going on in and around this planet, this beautiful blue marble that's floating up in the air? Doing a lot of exciting things, weird things here and there. But before I get into that, you're looking at me and you're like, man, what happened to your mustache? What happened to the old thick old mustache? You know, that's what it is. With a big mustache comes with big responsibilities, and it's too much power for one man, to be very honest, and I had to give it away. Gave it away. It's off with another family right now, in a space where it's got a little bit more acreage. It's a nuclear family. Gave it to a nuclear family. Family of 4, mom, dad, son, daughter. They got a puppy. I thought they'd make better use of it, and that's what it is. Over there, I know it'll be, free to just roam around, do its thing, and not be confined by the limits of city dwelling. You know what I mean? Because that way it's not fair to me or him. So that's why I decided to just donate it, and that's what I do. It's if I can bring a smile to a family by donating a mustache, I will, and that shit grows back, dude. So you never know. But that's what we do around here, man. Facial hair in general. I used to love, as a kid, I used to adore, not even knowingly, my dad had a mustache, but I used to adore this mustache, where it was like symbolic of dad. You look at a man with a mustache and you're like, man, that is at least back in the day, I don't know the connotations these days, but back in the, 90s, if you had a dad with a mustache, this fella was reliable. This fella got things done, and this fella, if you looked at a man had a mustache, a full mustache, fella was, a family man of sorts, a dependent person or something along those lines. I don't know, but overall, it had this. For me, it was always like, oh, but I'm not there, so I can't put that out there, because that's the thing. People see the mustache and they're like, man, this fella must be. He must have like 2-3 kids at least, and no, I don't. And that's what it is. So it's like, I don't want to jump the gun. That is something that I'll probably, once the kids, if they should pop out at any, given time in my future, that's when the mustache will grow. For the time being, it's one of those things you can, you can dabble in the art of facial hair for a little bit, but overall it's just too much work. You're like, oh, I gotta trim the mustache, gotta trim the burns, gotta trim the beard, and all of a sudden you catch yourself, it's like, let's just shave it off. Too much work. But back in the day, I don't even know who invented the mustache. How did it come about? Like, how did humanity evolve hundreds of thousands of years, as we're now finding out? We go way back. For millions of years, people must have just been rocking beards and all sorts of facial hairs, and then one day somebody's like, you know what, I'm going to shave everything and leave the top of the lip portion of the facial hair. I'm just going to let it hang. And he was ostracized back in the day, the first person who rocked the mustache, because it's out there. Not going to lie to you, fam. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It's all about the palate. It's all about serving yourself something you're not used to. That's what the mustache. A mustache is essentially, that's what it is. For the fellas out there who are insecure about their upper lip. If you've got upper lip insecurities, I know a lot of men, use facial hair for, again, giving a little bit more proportion to their face. Beards are famous for that. They're like, oh, if you're rocking a beard, studies have been done on this. People who rock beards in society, statistically talking, they're known to be more reliable just by first immediate evaluation. You look at a man, you're like, beard, trustworthy. That's, again, it goes back to must have been around, must have a family, must be reliable or something. But these are modern connotations. They could have, like, back in the day, if you just, it was before shaving utensils came around. I don't think those connotations were drawn. I think it was an indication that you're of a certain age, if you can grow your own hair where you weren't able to as a child. Because that's the thing, you can distinguish between a man and a child with facial hair, proper facial. I'm not talking about, like, everybody, hits puberty at different ages, and there's different genes. Some people come in a little bit thinner, some people come in a little bit thicker, some people come in early, some people come in late, some people never come at all to the game. But nonetheless, man, it's a whole world of, experimenting with this, that, and the other. And yeah, for your boy, I'd like to, every once in a while, just for whatevs. You only live once, and you rock that mustache, or you grow a beard. And yeah, beard makes sense. Beard will keep you warm. Beard will keep you, if you want to keep your, that's a great way of concealing your face as well. If you're like, man, I don't want to get recognized, so I'll rock a beard. But then if you rock a beard too much, then that'll become your look, and easily you'll be identified with a beard. So you got to dabble in and dabble out, baby. You got to, like, go in for a little while and then switch it up. Because that way, if you're like rocking a beard for years, then everybody's like, oh, I know that beard. That beard's, that's Marcus with the beard. I know Marcus. Marcus rocks a beard all day, every day. Ever since I've known Marcus, he's had a beard. So that's something. But that way, if you shave it off, that'll be your method of concealing your identity, if that's something you're concerned about. Or, just for fun, switch it up. I don't know. But it's got, it had utility back in the day. Now it's more like, now we're at so much of our existence, it's just like you pick and choose whatever it is that you like to do. It really doesn't serve the purposes that it used to. And, like, facial hair is probably one of those things. Before, it was like a means of survival. You're out there in the wilderness, you're working in the day using daylight, and then nighttime you had to go back to your whatever little dwelling or a little shed or a cave or something. And there was no heating, there was no HVAC, there was no room temp. It was cold all day, every day, everywhere, and breezes were coming in and out. So you had to protect your face from frostbite. And that's why if you've seen pictures from millions of years ago, people had big beards, big woolly beards. It's just warm. But again, the mustache is a different story. A mustache is a person who's like, man, I don't have time for a beard, but I can spare a little bit of time to grow this little patch of face grass. Essentially, that's what it is, man. Facial hair is essentially face grass or facial greenery, And again, it can serve to hide that thin upper lips if you're, because a lot of fellas, sometimes might be hit with that thin upper lip, and you're like, man, this thin upper lip is making me fill it up, baby, fill it up. The Lord's given you, females, they use all sorts of makeup. They can, I don't condone anything, but if somebody's, I've got a thin upper lip, you might get a little injection or something. I'm not condoning it. Or you might, like, grab a empty cup and start sucking into that empty cup and start, like, getting blood flow in your lips, trying all sorts of remedies. Essentially, those are something ladies use, but men for generations after generations have been passing down the secret of the mustache. It's definitely something to think about if you've got that. If you got no upper lip, fam, if you got no upper lip, go with a mustache. If you got some upper lip, you've got, plenty of room to work around with and figure out your life. But if you got no upper lip, man, hide it with a mustache. If you got no upper lip or bottom lip at all, maybe it's just a line. Mustache. If you see a fella with a full-grown mustache, a long one, that fella probably doesn't have a mouth. But guess what? They're not ridiculed. They're not made fun of in society because, what? Mustache, you got it. And that's what it is, man. But I'm not ready for it yet. It's something, again, I like to do a little bit of part-time every once in a while. Be like, oh, look at your face. Different. And then be like, okay, too much difference. Got to get back to the comfort zone, what I'm comfortable with, what I can manage, what I can handle. And also look in the mirror and be like, okay, I know this guy. Change it up too much, grow a mustache one day, you walk in the bathroom, you're like, ooh, whoa. if you're not used to it, it'll catch you off guard. Who the hell is this guy? You all of a sudden catch yourself getting into an argument with yourself. How'd you get in here? And you're like, whoa, 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 buddy. You're the one who started this whole thing. And, soon everybody will come to their senses and everything can be resolved in a rational manner. But that's just a little bit of you playing around with body hair, or facial hair rather. So shout out to the men out there, shout out to the ladies out there doing it. Maybe you're a lady out there who, ladies have a little bit of mustaches. Well, some lady, not all ladies. Most ladies have a little bit of something. It's, again, shades and coloring and what have you that has a lot to do with it. The darker the hair, obviously, the more visible it is, and therefore you got to do, whatever it is that you got to do to make that face look nice. And yeah, some people have like blonde hair and it's like a little peach fuzz, you can't even see it, no big deal. Some people have a little bit darker hair, and then, oh man, you gotta, the ladies, some are out there waxing their mustache or threading their mustache. I've seen it. It's a little kept secret, and I'm not talking about this. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I don't want anybody taking this the wrong way and thinking I'm advocating for women's mustaches. Like, oh, finally somebody said women have mustache. Women don't have mustaches. Okay, women have a little bit of a peach fuzz, which again, depending on shade or coloring, you can probably leave it be, no big deal. If it's dark and it's like coming in heavy, you might want to think about, just doing a little bit of maintenance. Not too many people have that issue or concern. It's not even a big deal. It's a human thing, but I'm not trying to don't take this as a green light for growing out your mustache. All of a sudden, oh, I'm tired of like making myself look, and the next thing because this is how it starts. It's the little things. You're like, oh, I'm not gonna shave my mustache anymore. I'm gonna get like 40 cats, and I'm gonna, and that's what happened. You turn around and you're like in your mid 40s and you got 40 cats and a visible mustache, and you're like, yeah, I don't need anybody. And that might be true. You might not need anybody, but I'm just saying it's not a big deal. But also, remove it if you got one. But then I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. If you're like, fuck this, I want to just like. And I know, because if somebody tells me to do something, my instinct is always like, oh, you don't tell me what to do. So in order for this not to happen, I'm going to tell you to keep the mustache. So this is reverse psychology. Keep that mustache, lady. Keep that mustache and get 40 cats right there. So and now you're like, fuck this. I'm not getting 40 cats. I'm shaving my mustache. And we're all saying the same thing, essentially. Goal achieved. Equilibrium maintained. Smooth recovery, and the Russian judges give him a 9.5. All across the board. Man, oh man. Soccer is going on, World Cup's going on, and there have been some, weird upsets thus far. A little one. Argentina versus Saudi Arabia. 2-1. Didn't watch the game. And yeah, initially this does not bode well for my prediction of Argentina winning the World Cup, I gotta say. And that's what happens. Sometimes you make predictions and they don't, but that's the thing. Maybe it starts off with a rocky start and the next thing followed by a couple of more similar circumstances on the pitch, and next thing you know, you're out of the competition. So yeah, I'm gonna need Argentina to step it up there, everybody. Don't go in there thinking, oh, we got the best player in the world, or like one of the best players in the world. We're not gonna do your thing out there. It's not just gonna be handed to you. Okay, I'm gonna need to see some running back and forth, which you guys have got locked down, but also more scoring. I honestly thought going in, I thought that'll be like a similar game to like Iran versus England, like high number of goals. I was expecting like at least 4 or 5 goals from the Argentines, but that was not the case. Congratulations to obviously Saudi Arabia in terms of the competition, not much else. In terms of the competition, you guys are killing it, and that is awesome, because that's it's nice to I do enjoy the aspect that sports brings from, like, because that's the thing. Sometimes you might hear from other countries that are like, oh, you hear in the news this, that, and the other. And it's just nice to see a different form of killing, not just like, I'm not talking about like, because you hear like Saudi Arabia, oh, they're killing it. This time it's on the pitch, dude. I'm not talking about like the government doing like executions of like, you know, reporters, journalists. They're killing it in a different way, in a positive manner this time, which is, I can get behind that. So shout out to you guys taking on Argentina 2-1. That's nice. That's really nice. In terms of how I'd like to see it all work out, because I did make a prediction, and even though I really got nothing in this, I would like to see Argentina win so that I can be like, oh, look, I you know, made a wild prediction and it came true. But if it doesn't, I can still make wild predictions down the line, and some of them might be true and some of them might not be true. And this is the whole point of life, isn't it? You win some, you might not win some, but then you'll win some again later in life. And that's the circle of life, ladies and gents. Man, oh man. But yeah, that's things are happening. Beautiful things are happening. That's a little bit of World Cup action. Canada's going on today. Game is going to be on by the time this video is going to be. The game starts at 2. So right now we're in, we got a few more hours before the game starts, so I'm just sending out positive vibes and energy to Team Canada. Let's go. I believe we're playing Belgium. Oh, them Belgium boys are coming in. Guess what? You're going to be surprised with a lot of things. I'm talking defense. I'm talking midfield. I'm talking forward action. I'm talking, our goalie's going to be just like, wah. Just every time you take a shot. Why bother even taking shots, Belgium? You know it's going to get blocked. You know you're going to break some ankles on them fields playing with them boys in the red. Got ahead of myself a little bit. I'm just excited. I hope Team Canada does amazing, and I know we will. And again, a little bit of, boys, we've talked about this. You got this. I don't need to repeat myself, but, any means necessary on the pitch. You know what I mean? Just saying. Do it up. What else is going on, man? There's been I've seen this in the past couple of days, weeks, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. I'm still not really quite sure what it is. There's a video online that's been surfaced, which means it's on the top, which means it's gone viral maybe, which means that it's visible for viewership. A flock of sheep in China have been walking around in a circle for apparently 12 to 14 days. Weird. Really, really spooky, weird, sus, sketch, weird, sus sketch situation. Because I've never, and read a little bit into it just because I was like, that's the thing. I don't have too much, I didn't have too much prior knowledge into sheeps and flocks and herds of animals. You know what? I'm an animal person by nature. I'm an animal myself. So there's that connectivity right there. But I'm not, I don't know too much about their behavior or life. Is that a normal thing that they do? And their sheep are essentially, there is that, there's herd mentality definitely amongst herd animals where one does something, the others start to mimic. And there's been speculation. I'm not sure if it's been solved. I believe somebody said it might be, I think, it might be due to a bacteria, maybe, I don't know, listeria, which is basically like sheep hysteria, I'm assuming. You catch a little bit of listeria, you start walking around in circles or something. It might be I heard somewhere else that it might be a method of protecting one sheep from whatever, maybe a predator or like something else, that maybe one of the sheep fell down, broke an ankle, and so to avoid embarrassment for the entire herd, they start walking in circles, so to cover the embarrassing moment for that one sheep that may have broken an ankle. Or maybe there's a little one sheep is just having is having a meltdown, a midlife crisis of sorts, and they're trying to just keep it in the fam. It's family business. Not everything needs to be discussed with the outside world. So it's just let's walk around a circle until Billy gets it together. They're just trying to maybe it's an intervention. I don't know. Maybe they're just walking in and around and they're like, yeah, man, Willie's been eating too much grass. We need to have a little. We need to have a little bit of. Let's all get into a circle and just walk around and burn some calories. Let's all just, why do we have to get all fattened up and juicy? Let's build. Maybe they're doing it to spite us. Maybe they're like figuring out little by little that the less movement will essentially result in less muscle mass, therefore producing juicier, tastier, more tender beef. For the humans, you and I. Maybe they figured that out. Maybe they tapped into it. Maybe one of them ate a mushroom. Maybe they all ate mushrooms, and all of a sudden they're like communicating way more than usual. And they're like, dude, if we just exercise a little bit and worked on these calf muscles and get these thighs and quads like really firm, then they'll have a hard time chewing on our meats. And that way they won't be having a pleasant time as much as they would normally if we were to just like be a little bit more sedentary, let's say, and just like oozing with flavor, because we've been just walking around all like a lazy little sheep that we are. There's a little bit of grass here, a little bit of grain there, a little bit of hey, what you saying over there? Chit chat, and then essentially you're off to a little conveyor belt, and man oh man, circle of life once again. But yeah, I wonder what the rationale behind that is. It is in China, and it is concerning animals and weird behavior. So my only concern is like it could be, if it's like sheep munching on psilocybin mushrooms, I'm cool with it. If it's sheep walking in circles to avoid embarrassment for somebody not feeling well in the herd, that's fine too. Anything really, I'm cool. But again, because of the whole thing that we had potential, like I just don't want this to be like another Schmovid. Next thing you know, they're like, oh man, Schmovid was transferred, because it's sudden, people start consuming these sheeps, and then people start walking in circles, and that way, and they're like, oh, we gotta lock it down. People are walking in circles, and if you catch this thing, you're gonna walk in circles, and we're all like, nah, man, that won't happen. Considering what just happened in the not so distant past, I say keep a lookout on these sheeps. What's up? It's not as bad as, I'll tell you that, it's not as bad as COVID, which is whatever. It is what Schmovid was, what it is. It's in the past. But I'm just saying, like, keep an eye out on these sheeps, because, yeah, I don't want to see people going around in circles. I don't want to see people doing any synchronized walking, dancing, any sort of synchronized motion. I want it to be like an event. I don't want just random people in middle of the street just start walking in circles. I don't want to see young college students just start acting sheepishly and like walking in circles all of a sudden. I don't want to watch the elderly get consumed by this and all of a sudden start walking in circles. Synchronized walking, dancing, sports, take it to the Olympic. Take it to the local rec center. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't want to see that shit. Same with the sheep. Again, one time, understandable. But again, it did go on for about 12 to 14 days, and I've got weird, what's happening there? Did they take breaks? This was asked online, and I was genuinely concerned about that too. Or was it like consecutive? We're gonna just keep going for 12, 14 days straight of just walking in circles. I guess they might have had grass where they were walking, so they could have been walking and eating, I guess. But what about water? Maybe they're good with holding water. I don't know. Again, I'm not a sheep expert. So if you're out there and you've seen this and you got the answer, please get online and make a comment or a video and assure the rest of us that everything will be okay. Everything's gonna be fine, right? Do let us know, won't you, Mr. Sheep Expert, Mrs. Sheep Expert, Mr. and Mrs. Sheep Experts? Doing it? Man. Or maybe there could be a positive to this. I take it back, dude. Maybe there's a positive to this. Maybe if you what are they essentially doing? They're going in circles, which is a circle is a pattern, if anything. They're going in they're walking in one direction, and maybe if we were to consume that and catch that disease, maybe things would be, try to put a positive spin on this. Maybe maybe things would have more order. But that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It depends what you're really looking for. If you are looking around at maybe you're running a company, let's say maybe you're running a company and you're like, man, I like the way these sheeps have synchronized and have just been able to like put their mind to work and like get it done. It's not much, it's just walking around in circles, but they're sticking to it, and that in and of itself is beautiful. Just to see something like, oh, are they going for a record? Oh man, maybe it's like an inside record thing. Maybe it's like from like we don't know. Maybe like they telepathically maybe communicating like from sheep herd to sheep herd, and maybe it's like a ice bucket ice water challenge, but inside the sheep realm. And they're like, bah, like telepathically, miles, thousands of miles away, they heard that maybe in Scotland, a group of sheep were walking around in circles for like 8-9 days, and these guys in China were like, let's fucking do this 10 days. That's nothing. I don't know. So again, maybe you see that and you're like, man, if I can get my workers in my company to eat a little bit of this meat, and all of a sudden everything, the operation is just like working like circle works. Is that a thing? Like clockwork, essentially. And that's what is a clock if not a round shaped object that has gears inside, and a long hand and a short hand indicating the hours and the minutes. Although you do have some watches that are square shaped or rectangles, and then you can get funky with the like shapes. Some like tend to do weird things like, oh, I'm gonna, it's a hexagon. It's a perpendicular triangle. It's a you know what it is. It's just it's a star shaped. It's a silly old Mickey Mouse watch, and it's not round. And in that case, this doesn't work. But were we talking about round watches and clocks and circles? Then it's more or less the same thing. And again, I don't even know what I'm saying about just saying, putting it out there. If you think this is good, let's try it out. Let's get some people to eat this and see if they start working better, walking around in circles, doing anything funky, but also keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them just to make sure everything's okay. Anyway, moving on, fam. Moving on, ladies and gents. What else is going on in and around this beautiful world? Here in Canada, in Toronto, we just had one of our, I'm so proud to say this because although I've not had a direct input, or I was not involved in this operation, nor am I involved in any other operation. I operate on a regular basis, baby. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, specifically right here on Glad You Made It, I operate. But then this operation, what am I talking about? This particular operation went down in this past week, and Toronto had one of its largest busts of drug busts, and they busted a lot of drugs, you guys and gals. And this happens in all parts of the world. You'll hear, oh, in this particular city, in this region, we just busted one of the biggest busts, and we busted a lot of drugs. And you read the numbers. The numbers is what really caught my attention. 600 kilograms of busted drugs. And it got me excited because that's a lot of drugs. And I don't partake in many of the drugs out there. I do have my, I don't even know what it is. It's just a little bit of herbs here and there, a little bit of the coffee, and a little bit of the cigs. And that's pretty much it for your boy. But I'm not too sure what these guys were selling or producing or what. I think it was a mixture of a lot of, there's definitely some coke in there, but I believe the rest of it may have been something else. And I'm sure if it's like a large bust like that, 600 kilograms, I'm sure there's an assortment of drugs, maybe cocaine, maybe a little bit of fentanyl, maybe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of that. I don't know. Crystal meth, maybe a little bit of hashish, maybe a little bit of crocodile tears, maybe a little bit of methamphetamines, maybe a little bit of uppers, maybe a little bit of downers, maybe a little bit of stabilizers, maybe a little bit of poppers, maybe a little bit of something you'd sniff, maybe a little bit of something you'd inject, maybe a little bit of something you'd slip under your tongue, maybe something that you just drop in your eye. I don't know, but these sort of things do happen, and it gets me excited Because not because there's like, bad drugs on the streets, because there's plenty of good drugs on them streets too. And yeah, my whole thing about it, I'm not here to like talk about the good or bad about it. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I'm always curious about like what happens to all this quantity of drugs that has been confiscated. 600 kilograms of drugs. What are we doing with all that big batch of drugs? What are we doing with this? 600 kilograms. That's a lot of. How much is 600 kilograms? To, I guess, quantify this or make it a little bit more. It's like, 600 kilograms, right? That's like, basically, that's like 6 decent sized human beings. 6 to 8 human beings worth of drugs. And that is quite a bit of drugs. Not gonna lie. That's high, like, oh, that's like 7 in terms of like, body mass and weight. Let's say these are like heavyweights too. If like, 6 to 8, so if they're like 100 kilos, that's roughly probably like 225 pounds per person. Those are huge. So like, 6 to, depending on the size of the person, I'm gonna say 6 to 9 people, depending on how much they weigh. But that's a good chunk of drugs. I'm just wondering what happens to these drugs. Where did they go? Can we use them? Whether we use the drugs or whether, like, what about the money? What happens to the money? I guess they weren't sold, but how do we make use of them essentially? Because like, what do we do with them? 600 kilograms of drugs. I'm sure if there's like a portion that's not usable, that's not meant to be, like if it's bad drugs, like if it's like pure fentanyl, I'm assuming that's like no bueno. We want to get rid of that. But still, even what happens to that, dude? What happens to like out of the 600? Let's say 100 of it was fentanyl. What do we do with it? Or let's say like 400 of it was cocaine. What do we do with it? Do we give it to? Is that what we use to train the narc dogs? Are they, is it like, do they get a major quantity of that drug that's been confiscated? Man, they hear in the canines' ears are just like, oh my God, we just got a whole new batch of drugs. And they're all excited. They're wagging their tails. They're eager to work, showing up early. Who's a good boy? Who's a good girl? They are doing the hard work. Man, they're addicted, aren't they? Totally are. But that's another, what happens to it? I'm just curious. What happens to it? Is there, like, what do you do with it? You can't, like, here's the thing, man. If I'm being completely honest, if I were part of these operations, I will never be a part of these operations, but man, or maybe I could, if you guys are like one day doing like, cause I know there are like programs where you can do like, where you can like, if I'm not mistaken, if you know a fellow who's a cop or something, maybe you could do like ride-alongs, if you know somebody, or maybe like, that's the thing, you can like sit in the back, just go on like one day or like half a day. Man, that'd be dope. I should probably I should do that somehow. I should think, man. And like, bust crime busting. But from a safe distance, I will be just think of me as a fly on the wall. I won't, you won't hear a peep out of this guy. You'll hear a lot, but it'll all be like, it's the thing. I'm curious to know what your day's like, and like go on a little ride-along experience, and we're busting drugs, and your partner calls in sick. No, your partner goes out to get coffee. No, wait, your partner is out there walking in a local neighborhood, and just, he or she approaches a fruit stand and is just picking up a nice little apple, and is like maybe looking at the apple and, scrubbing on his outfit, and he's about to take, and then all of a sudden these bad guys, bad men, hop out of this like old school hot rod and and oh my God, it's horrible, but then like, I'm your backup, dude. We'll talk about the loss of your partner. That is horrible, what happened to your partner, but I got your back, dude. And we're gonna take revenge in terms of Not like, we don't lay it down with violence. We come in there with like questions and curiosity and just like, oh, how do we fix this global problem? But the thing is, I'd like to probably go on a ride along if that's, just putting it out there if it happens naturally, And then what I'm trying to get to is I would love to like get in a situation where we're like maybe negotiating a couple of briefcases. Like, you got a briefcase, I got a briefcase. Our the people we're meeting have got briefcases. And they've got weaponry, heavy weaponry. And you've got a gun or two on you. I don't have anything. And then you hand one of your guns to me because you trust me for some odd reason in this particular hypothetical situation. You're like, take this. I'm sure you know how to handle yourself. And I don't, but I'll take it anyway. And oh man, locked ready and like, oh, this'll be ready to go if need be. And you're like, don't use it unless need be. And I listen, dude, I'm a listener. So I'm not gonna use it unless need be. And I put it in safely, I just dock it right next to my genital area because I've seen people do that on the TV. You just take a little bit of a deep breath, your pants loosen up a little bit, and you just like stuff it right on top of your cock, right there. The safest place possible, right on top of your cock. Point. You want the shaft of the gun, essentially, I'm assuming from all the videos and the movie, you want that to be pointing to your genital area, nowhere else. No, don't put it behind you. Because that's like you're pointing to your butt, and that's whatever. Like if we're gonna roll the dice, we're gonna roll the dice, baby. So front, right there, tucked in underneath your boxers, right, and then the handle's just like sticking out, ready to go, ready for you to just like be like lift it up and just show it and be like, what's up, baby? Daddy's coming in with heat. But I won't say that unless you want me to say that, unless you want me to be a little bit more intimidating. I can come in more intimidating if you want me to. Daddy's bringing the heat. Heat. Daddy's bringing the heat. And I'll lift it. And just imagine, handle a gun, little bit of that love trail, baby. You'll see that. A little bit of, got a little, what is going on here? What is going on here? All the attention is drawn to this region and what is happening. And meanwhile, you're dealing with briefcases, ones filled with unmarked $20 bills from the 80s, 90s, possibly 70s if we're lucky. And then in the opposite end of the table, where there's dudes who are just they procure narcotics. I know in society they're deemed as bad guys, but are they really bad? Okay, yeah, they're bad guys. Most of them are bad human beings. But some of them are legit just like victims of circumstance, but you're like, man, I could have done anything else. But like, let's say they're from the slums of the slums. They're in the slummiest slum fest. It's a slum bucket fest of, there's this slum that these bunch of fellas, man, you should see the slums that these guys had no chance. So with that not being an excuse, I'm not excusing your behavior out there if you're out there doing it, but nonetheless, man, it's a whole world of, one step at a time, baby. I didn't say we're gonna fix it today, but we're like, in terms of like percentage wise, oh man, we're inching every day closer and closer, like making it better. And that's what's important. So I'm there with you as your backup. You've lost your partner, you're a little bit emotional, let me handle this if you like. If not, again, I could just be as quiet as a little mouse. You won't even notice I'm there, dude. You'll notice I'm there, but like, again, quiet as a mouse that is perhaps equipped with a microphone. I'll be loud. If you want me to be, I'll be loud. If you want me to keep it on the DL, I'll just be sitting in the car. I'll just beep, beep, I'm there. I'll just flash the lights so they know we're there. No, wait, we're going undercover. My bad, I'm not gonna flash the lights. Can I flash the lights on the way, dude? Can I just, you know what I mean? Because that power is so titillating. If it was legal for me to have lights on my car, man, oh man, just putting it out there, dude. It'd be a laser show when I was driving through. If we could only utilize more lights with cars, but like you're being a distraction with lights on the road, especially at nighttime. Fine, safety first, no fun. Always about the safety, What happened to fun, you guys? You know what I'm saying? But the point is, yeah, I want to essentially be the guy that is exchanging the, we're giving the money and receiving pure cocaine. Yeah, I want to be the guy who will, I'll whip out a little butterfly knife, little just butterfly knife right there, and I'll do a little bit of right there, and and they'll be like, this is pure. You want to test it? And I've never done coke or anything. I'm not interested. But one thing that I will say, there's certain actions in terms of how it looks that is, I would like to, this is what I'm saying, dude. Butterfly knife in this hand, just to break a coke right here, and I want to cut right into it, put a little bit on the knife blade, and two ways you could do this. Preferred method, I would like to just like finger it for a second, just finger it and rub it on my gums, because I've seen people do that. I don't know what it does. I don't know what's supposed to happen. I have no point of reference to know if it's the good stuff or if it's the bad stuff. But what I could do is I could say things that will, make the deal go smoothly, because if it goes smoothly and I confirm that it's the good stuff and we exchange money and the drugs, that way peepsies can come in and be like, oh, put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air, and it'll be like a celebration at one moment, because you're so used to hearing that, to put your hands up in the air. And people will be like, oh yeah, it's a party now. We just had a great deal, but it's not though. You're getting busted, son. Getting busted. Bring in the SWATs. Bring in the SWAT. And that's what I'll be like. Bring in the SWATs. Just flashing. Fucking love trail and a gun just right there, pointing to my nats. So I wanna be the guy that, because visually I've always wanted to, like, in terms of like, for me to like look at you and you be like, is it good? And I'll be like, it's good. It passes, whatever. I don't even know what it's supposed to do. I think you're supposed to feel numb. I think it numbs you, and if it numbs you, apparently that's good. But I'm not gonna like really do it. I just want to mimic, I'll pretend, dude. I'll like dip my middle finger, but I'll rub my like index finger so that they won't even notice. They'll be looking at my love trail with the gun, because I'll be doing it like, like look over here while I'm doing this, looking at you. And I just want to like do that and be of service if I can, like, just make everything go smoothly. And then after that, yeah, I wonder what happens in these circumstances. Do like the people who are involved in the bust, do they get a little piece of the action? For their hard work, dude. Does like, if there's like 600 kilograms, a handful of people who are involved in the operation, they should get a little, you should get a brick of something. I would give you a brick of something. If I were like chief police officer, man, oh my God, everybody would get bricks. But then and luckily I'm not chief police officer, but I'm just saying, if I were, things would be a lot different, boys and girls. So I don't know what we do with these loads of drugs. Do they sit in a warehouse? Do we flush them down toilets? And if we flush them down toilets, what happens? Let's say there's a gator in the sewage system. Are they getting high on coke? And you never even thought about that, did you? Just a gator just wilding out on coke that you flush. That's a lot of flushing. So I don't know, or do we burn them? But then if we burn them, where do we burn them? Like, because that's the thing. If it's a lot of drugs being burnt all at once, is there like a town that we take it to nearby, and they got like a drug burning facility, and then you burn it, and the entire town is like, addicted to drugs because the drugs went up into the clouds. It rained. All of a sudden, everybody's like, man, I for some odd reason, I'm gonna get a craving for whatever, meth or coke or whatever it is that they have burnt. I don't know what happens to it, but that's the thing. It doesn't happen just like once or twice. Every year we have large drug busts. Just after that one, I heard of not a larger one, but another large drug bust further up north, where it was like, this time it was like, I don't know, 50 kilograms. Not big, but like still quite big. 50 kilograms of drugs. That's like, that's a person worth of drugs. Imagine me, just like full body of drugs right in front of you. That's a lot of drugs. So yeah, the police officers who are involved in those cases, do they get a piece? should they get a piece, I'll put it on Twitter, dude. I'll take a poll. If you guys say yes, fucking like, let's do it. And if not, you guys should think about it, because they do a lot of work. Why shouldn't they? Like, that's the thing. They risk a lot. They should get a brick. But, you know, all in all, I say, like, we decriminalize everything and, like, we produce it ourselves so that people can go and, like, buy whatever they want legally from proper places, so that we are not, you know, we don't have to have these operations. But then again, like, if we did that, we wouldn't have all this fun. You wouldn't have your boy going out on ride-alongs, and you'd miss out on all that fun. So, and tons of lives risked. Is it worth it? And, you know, you have the answers out there. The answers are with you. I don't know. This way, like the method that we're doing right now, fun, and high risk. So if you're out there, you're like, man, I want to have fun and be risky. Current mode of operation, fun and risky. Could we do it in a safer, more, you know, more evolved way? Absolutely, but guess what? Not risky, not fun. And I'm assuming less people make money. I'm just assuming, because that way it's like, you know where to go, you know who produces it. There's only a handful of people or companies or manufacturers, and it goes from producer to consumer. You know what it is. This way, I'm guessing a lot more people eat. And again, a lot more people are being risky, and a lot more people are having fun. So if you want more people to be eating, want more people to be risky, want more people to be having more fun, keep it the way it is. You want to, like, change it up? You can always do that too, and I'll leave it up to you, gang. You guys decide. You gals decide. It's fun, dude. It is fun, though. I'm just, like, thinking about a warehouse that is, because again, this doesn't happen like once. There's probably a giant warehouse that is filled with all the drugs. Oh my God. Wow. I wonder what happens. And then you should probably take that drug that you confiscate and then, like, sell it to the drug dealers, and then catch them reselling it, dude. You could probably be like recycling. These could, oh my God, it could be the same batch of drugs just going around in the market. It's like maybe the same batch of drugs. That'd be pretty dope. That'd be pretty dope. But that's just a little bit of, you know, the criminal underbelly of the world. That is a part of the upper belly of the world as well. Just, it's all intertwined, really. It's all a big. It's like a train that's, you know, attached. Each component of this train has got, like, different, you know, got the locomotive, you got the, you know, you got the rest of the train, you got the train tracks, and everything is connected in terms of, like, oh, there's a beginning, middle, and end to it all. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, get a sip of this bad boy. I did want to talk about something else with you guys and gals as well. So we did talk about the mustache. We did talk about a little bit of the World Cup. We did cover the drug busts. What else did I want to talk to you guys and gals about? There was something else as well. Bear with me a few seconds. Something else as well. Totally forgot. Yes. And now I want to talk about, I've been thinking about this. I'm just, like, playing around with an idea, writing a little bit, thinking about different things. This came to my mind, and I'll share it with you guys and gals out there. You guys, let me know how you feel about it. It's not, you know, I'm working on it, like many things that I work on. And I'm thinking about this, guys. Ladies, put everything we just talked about aside. We're now moving forward to, so I have a soft spot for the depiction of pimps in television and in movies and film and what have you. And I just, growing up, I used to love pimps, still do in a different way, not like real pimps, but like the depiction of a pimp on TV. or whether it's through music or older movies that use. We don't have them too much, but sometimes, like I said, I like to go back and like dip into older movies from different genres, and like that is the pimp is a character that I'm fascinated about because it's an interesting character, and we don't have that anymore. And for you're like, good. It's a good thing that we don't have pimps. I'm not here to talk about the good and the bad. I'm here to talk about the fun. I'm here to talk about the things that we may not have anymore that may have been like, that could be altered, and we may have to, we could experience them maybe in a different way. What I'm trying to say is that, the pimp is something that is no longer a thing. Or if it is, it's very like, you don't see too many. Or you don't even hear about them. But like that was a thing back in up until at least like the 70s or 80s, maybe even 90s. And again, I'm sure they exist today as well, but it was a thing. It was like, that world, pimps and prostitutes and like Johns, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole world. And I was just like, I don't know. What I'm trying to get to is like, I know like the idea is perhaps like you can't do it anymore, or again, maybe you can, maybe you are. Maybe you're pimping out there right now, playa. But I'm thinking, what if we had human pimps? Probably like, you're like, oh, why should they get a piece of the action? The lady or the fella that is selling themselves is doing all the work. Why should they get a piece of the action? There's all those little, what if situations. Why should they? Why shouldn't they? And I'm not here to talk about that. I wanted to modify it a little bit. I'm like, okay, if we can't have like human pimps, would it be cool if we had robot pimps? Robo pimps. Robo pimps. Excuse me. Robo pimps. Think about it. Because with human pimps, you'd have an issue of like, morally or something. Is it cool for them to be like pimping out somebody? And a lot of times, pimps were probably not the nicest people. But what if that's due to like human flaws? What if you had a Robo Pimp who was in it to really benefit the sex worker at the end of the day? You know what I'm saying? So the problem with the real life pimp is that he is probably like, he's all about that, he's all about collecting checks, collecting cash, probably not checks, collecting the cash, getting the dough, and keeping everybody like in line. You gotta have your down bitch, you gotta have your like main down bitch, and then you gotta have like your regular bitches and hoes too. So you got like a lady who's like a madam, probably runs the operation for you as the buffer zone, and then when you need to go in there and lay down the heavy hand, sometimes you go in there and do your thing. But again, through time, through like just society evolving, we're like, oh, that's no bueno. And you never heard any positive, like, that's the thing. I'm just like trying to make it into a positive. Why does it always have to be like, oh, this pimp is not a good pimp? Well, what if he was a good pimp? What if he was man, I just want it to be a funny pimp. That's all I want. I just like the idea, and I'm trying to like, Robo Pimp maybe, because like that way he's not like, because like if a human is a pimp, the man may be like, he's susceptible to emotions. He's susceptible to thoughts of maybe like jealousy and control and all that. But like a robot pimp would be just all about like efficiency, making more dough. And because it's not benefiting from any of the pimping, all the benefit would go directly to the bitches and hoes. So, and in terms of like, if you need like backup for somebody to like come and clean up house, what better backup would you want than a robot? Because think about it, like if you're in a tight situation, a solid robot as like, oh, you're having a client that's like acting out, a robot pimp, Robo Pimp, dude, fucking walks in, beep bop beep boop, wearing a cute little fur coat, beep bop beep boop, and fucking like with a little cane that's like beep bop beep boop. Oh man, Robo Pimp, that'd be dope, dude. I'm just saying, think about it, fam. And yes, he'll come in and be like, show me the motherfucker that's not paying you on time. And you can, like, Stacy can be like, there he is, daddy. And it's like, move, bitch, daddy's got it now. And like, he'll like slightly gently just like push you aside. And I go to town on that motherfucker is not paying you. And then, and I could be like, oh man, that's so cute. That is so adorable. Robo Pimp, he's all about heart. He's all about the ladies and taking care of them. It's not about his own like gains, because he's a robot. He's an AI robot. What's he gonna do with the money and the clothes and the cars? He doesn't need any of that. He's beyond that. He's above that. He's just legit there to like have a good time. It's like basically, it's like Charlie's Angels, but without they're not solving crime. They're like avoiding potential criminal activity in terms of getting involved in something that's like really sketch. You know what I mean? Because like what it is like, you know, the groundwork, you know, like what the work is. Once you're in it, you know what it is. It's like, you know, you're out there providing a service, and there's definitely dangers involved in that as well. So that's what I'm saying. If you roll around with a Robo Pimp, nobody would mess with you. You can like easily, if you got cash, easily deposit it in this little cute little belly, and daddy will hold on to the cash until you get back home. Stay safe out there. It's like all the things, like it'll be like working for you essentially. I mean, it's the so-called like pimp, but is it even a pimp at that point? Because like that's what it essentially, like, take the good of the pimp and give it to the ladies or fellas who prostitute themselves, and we all do to a certain degree. This is why I'm not like coming down on this. Is like I'm never coming down on here with like a judgment angle. Like we all do. For it is what it is. What I'm trying to say is that's just, I think that is man, Robo Pimp fucking getting in there a little bit slower than like regular people, obviously, but his actions are decisive with heavy consequences. Just coming in there, and then like he'll just like zap you with a finger. Zzz, fucking zap, and you're all like, oh my god, here's the money, take it, bitch, I don't need this. He'll need it again. He'll come back. And I'll let you guys think about that. I mean, because that's like, you know, that's never been done. Robo Pimp's never been done, dude. I'm calling it right here, right now. Oh my god, maybe he gets, a pimp who gets into a pimp fight where they're just like pimp slapping each other and sword fighting using their canes. He's taken out. He's outnumbered by a whole bunch of other pimps. Gets taken out, but because he was low-key undercover, we bring him in. Give him a robotic, his brain is still good, but his body is now a robot's body. Kind of like RoboCop, but like Robo Pimp, basically. And like RoboCop is clear of service. And hey, Robo Pimp is just as much, or at least can be as much of service as well. If you just and hey, how much service did RoboCop really like provide? And this, like, you know what I mean? At least like this fella, and if we're having like RoboCops, why not Robo Pimps, dude? Just saying. Ladies, gents, think it over. Because definitely like this, or like reverses of this, if we're like thinking all aspects of it, or as many aspects of it as possible, you could have like, maybe you want to be the pimp, but you want to have bitches and hoes, so that you could be the pimp and be the bitches and like be in charge of the operation of the bitches and the hoes. But like you don't want to do it the old school way, because that's like, that's questionable. Not judging, but like, but if you don't want it to be questionable, what if you got robot bitches, which is basically bought bitches, dude. Bought bitches, but you're the pimp. That could also work as well. Basically, it's kind of like, think about it like, it's like It'd be like having a car and like renting it out to people. Very similar, but instead of very similar, people are taking your stuff, taking your goods for a good ride. Very similar. Comes back with more mileage. Very similar. Gets a little bit dirtier every time. Very similar. You know, there's probably going to be a little bit of jizz on that piece of machinery in either case, whether it be car or, you know, bot bitch. But then again, like, that's the, again, circle of life. Circle, like, a lot of things have, you'd be surprised, a lot of things, if you just like use flash, if you use black light and flash a little bit of like light on those, like, on surfaces in general, just saying, a lot of places would surprise you. We should probably do that as a community, just walk around one day, one night, just be like, oh, we need to like clean this place up. And you're like, not as much as you think. You'd be surprised, dude. Check it out. Check it out. Get a couple of people walking around with black lights. Next thing you know, we could be living particularly cleaner if it's a thing. But if we flash them lights and nothing happens, then you're like, oh, nothing's there. And that's a sigh of relief, I'm assuming, because you don't want to like flash the black light. Because right now everybody's like living in oblivion because no black lights being flashed on mass scale, and we're just like walking around thinking like everything's like jizz free. Get a community walking around with black light, really like figure it out. Like these are the things, these are the subjects that don't get discussed really, that I'd like to, you know, shine a light on sometimes. Is it covered in jizz? That's a whole section that we can like do later on. Is it covered in jizz? And you'll be surprised. Tune in to find out. Is it covered in jizz? Ladies and gents, whether, you know, and again, this show's for everybody. The relatively young, never too young, of course. You have to be 18 years of age to be using this product, to be consuming. At least that's the way I set it up. But if you're out there catching these tunes and watching, well, a whole lot of other stuff that you're probably consuming out there as well that you probably shouldn't be. But nonetheless, man, this is for of age adults, males, females. We talk about literally everything and nothing as mentioned before. Where can you find these videos? On Instagram, on YouTube, on patreon.com/RobSadri, every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. Boys and girls, love you. Ladies and gents, love you. Sending everybody positive thoughts, positive energies out there. Go get it out there, whatever you're doing. Take care of business, and I'll be back here again on Friday where we rock and roll. Let it burn, baby. Let it burn. Peace out.